Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives, and you might know my next guest as the co-host of Andy Cohen Live, his own weekly show, The John Hill Show. He has been on tour for the last year with his one-man show. But did you know that he also produced tons of reality television, including Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List, and he was a producer on Watch What Happens Live. We have so much to talk about. Hi, John Hill. How are you?
Hi, Jess. I'm good. I think I'm good. Yeah, it's so hot, but I'm good.
Okay, actually, before we get into anything, I want to know, what are your long-term plans as far as LA and New York? Like, will you come back? To me, you're such a New York guy.
I would like to come back to New York. That all depends on money. Like, if I get a huge gig that is would afford me a cross-country move, I don't know how you afford it. LA, I can kind of get by. Like, I love my house. I love my car. I love my little area. But like, I kind of am thrifty, I'm not like dropping crazy amounts of money like on rent,
I guess it was always my understanding that LA is just about like that the rentals are just about as expensive as, like, what is the difference? Like, if you don't mind me asking, not what's your rent, but like on average, what does a one-bedroom cost to rent in, say, like West Hollywood or like Silver Lake?
It's a good question. I think you're right. They are comparable, New York, LA, but I think LA is a little bit cheaper. It's also easier to find an apartment here. New York, you're scrambling, you're panicking, you're looking in so many different areas, you're asking your friends, and you want to get that apartment that you can get grandfathered in to rent control or whatever. Here, it's kind of like you drive around, you see a sign outside, you call somebody, they go, I'll show you today. You give them the money, it's yours. Like, not that simple all the time, but it is easier. But I think like in WeHo, like, would you say a one-bedroom apartment?
I mean, are you in a one or a two-bedroom?
I'm in a one. I won't tell you what I'm paying rent, but I will tell you the median average of where I live.
Please.
So I don't live exactly in WeHo. I live in Hollywood, but like WeHo adjacent. But I think for a one bedroom, yeah, you're looking at like at least 27 to 20 or to 3,500 for a nice one bedroom in WeHo. Yeah.
That's
also they're bigger here. They're bigger here. I used to live in the smallest apartment in Manhattan on 44th and 9th, across from Dykes Lumber. And it was the smallest. It was so I could reach my arms in bed and touch both walls. I do miss it. I feel at home there. I feel more inspired there. But I kind of like the situation now. I can come back to LA. I can recharge.
Yeah. I've seen the past few shows that you've done. Like,
I know. Thank you for coming.
You've been doing Wellness Check, which, have you just renamed it now as John Hill is Gooning? Like, is it pretty much the same show or it's different?
So Wellness Check is basically, the hour show that I do where I sing my original songs. You've seen it. It's always kind of evolving. But Gooning is where I just get up with zero script or plan and improvise based on whatever is happening in the moment. I'm not good at sitting at a laptop and writing out material like, okay, here's this joke I'm going to tell. I'm better at thinking on the spot and then making notes about it later.
When I ran into you last year on Fire Island, actually I ran into you last Memorial Day on Fire Island, and I ran up to you kind of raving how much I loved Hair and Teeth, which was a show that you did with Danny Visconti from who was a producer on Watch What Happens Live. And I just thought it was so brilliant. The concept is, it's called Hair and Teeth because all Danny wants is a hair transplant, and all you want are bottom veneers, bottom teeth to match your top teeth.
Right.
And I just found that so hilarious. And you open the show with a cover of the Jessica Simpson underrated classic, A Public Affair.
That's right.
And you kind of improve upon the original, I have to say.
Which, that song is so crazy because it's Holiday by Madonna, it's Jessica Simpson, Public Affair, and it's like it's so many songs in one. So I appreciate that. We had such a good time doing that. We'll probably do it again.
Wait, does A Public Affair sample Holiday?
Yeah.
Credited?
I think so. It's one of those songs that makes no bones about it. They're throwing in a lot of stuff because that's a pop song trick. If someone needs a big song, even without sampling, they'll just say like there's this one breakdown that someone does on the internet that's so good. I'll send it to you. Like, Physical by Olivia Newton-John is like actually 10 of the same. It's just the same song over and over again. Not like, oh, these chords are the same, but literally, strategically, they say, because our ears, when you hear something, it sounds vaguely familiar. Anyway, it's a trick. Anyway, I love that song.
So here's my question. I want to hear your full, because we kind of got into it on Fire Island, but now that we have like a bit more time and space, I want to hear your full dental journey.
Wow, that's an amazing. I would love to talk about it. Thank you. I have crappy teeth. My dad had crappy teeth. The girls in my family had genetically amazing teeth, no cavities, but me and my dad, we just got the bad teeth. I do brush them, I do floss them. But ever since I was in like middle school, I started getting cavities and then root canals, and it's just been such an epic journey. Now, and I wasn't even like eating crazy amounts of sugar. It's just shitty teeth, you know? And then I did become a drug addict, so that didn't help. I wasn't one of those drug addicts who had rotten teeth falling out like from that, but it didn't help. You know what I mean? So
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, keep going.
It exacerbated already crappy teeth. It didn't help that I was doing a bunch of chemicals. So then when I did get sober, I mean, it was always, there was a time during Watch What Happens Live, actually, where I was like, I need a whole new mouth and I can't afford it because it's like 200 grand. It's so expensive to like get everything replaced and then get braces and get all this shit. So I went to an NYU dental school, and they like did like student work on me, which was I should have just skipped and saved the money and done it right, because
is this
they
like
kind of
you with like your
up.
back alley Botox? Like sometimes I'm a true believer in you get what you pay for.
That is so true. Yeah.
Okay, so you did. So you got back alley veneers from a dental student?
Okay, no, I got some cavities and some root canals at the dental school, which was fine. They did fine work because there's this. And then I came to LA and I did spend a ton of money on top veneers, which you see before you right now, which I love. They're great. Apparently, they have to be redone, but that's another story.
Why do they have to be wait, how long ago did you get them done?
Maybe 2018.
Why would they have to be redone already?
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
So when I came to LA, I did spend a lot of money on these new veneers. They're great. That's all fine. And then I was like, why am I spending all this money on, teeth? Why don't I just focus my interest? My teeth have been great for as long as I've been sober. So I've had no cavities and nothing like that. So, but I have had a couple of implants because I've had on the bottom, as you know, the reason I don't just want bottom veneers. I want bottom teeth on the bottom because there's like, I don't have like molars on two sides. It's crazy. It's bad. So is this boring?
This is fascinating. This is the best interview you've ever done so far.
Wow. So I did meet an amazing dentist here. She's and she was like, you need to go see someone. You need to go see what are those things called? Like fake limbs, prosthetic. He's a prosthodontist. And I was like, bitch, I was so mad. I was like, you cannot send me I cannot see another dentist. I'm pissed. I'm angry. I went in there. This dentist was so hot. This dentist was so hot. And he firmly, okay, back up one second. I went to an orthodontist. She sent me to first. And he looked at my mouth, and because I go, I want to finally spend the money on have everything done right, have a healthy, structured, good teeth chewing surface, and not chewing on like my two eye teeth to chew steak. And this guy looked at my stuff and he goes, it's too late for you. You can't be helped. And that hurt my feelings. And so then I went back to the dentist and I was like, fuck that guy. And then she was like, okay, let's go big guns. I cannot believe that in Burbank, in Southern California, where all the dentists are, that no one can look at my mouth and go, oh, here's what we'll do. Here's the challenge before us. I'm sure someone wants that challenge. So she goes, okay, you're going to go to see this other guy. He's so hot. And he looked in my mouth without any stress or drama and was like, yeah, I know exactly what to do. And he made me a plan. It's why I can't move back to New York probably. But like the top, he wants to redo these because like, I don't care about aesthetics at this point. I just want normal teeth. It used to be about aesthetics because I was always trying to fix the exterior to cover up the chaotic interior. Is this on video too?
Yeah.
Or are you going to?
Oh, it's on video. In the show Hair and Teeth, I remember like there's an anecdote you tell of how one of the veneers popped out. No, I could not tell what was real and what you were sort of embellishing on. What is the story where one of your teeth fell down the toilet?
That story was, it did start in truth, which was I was at Our Lady J's house for her birthday. She had made salmon, and I thought it was going to be just her and I, but Laverne Cox came over and they're sitting there and we're eating salmon. You know, keep in mind, like, I'm always afraid these top ones are going to fall off because they do. They pop off. Then you go find an emergency dentist who glues it back on for $600. But I'm in New York, and when I'm away, I'm always like, what will happen if I swallow a veneer
Wait,
or
let me
I
ask
can't
you.
glue
I'm
it?
sorry. One thing
Yeah.
I forgot to ask about the veneers: are they
Mm.
porcelain or the other kind?
They are whatever top of the line,
Porcelain.
gorgeous
Okay, then
porcelain.
porcelain veneers. Okay,
Yeah. Like whatever they got on the Swan. Like they're very
those are
much like
porcelain. Yes.
top tier. And I got them a shade too light. That's the other thing this hot dentist wants to do is darken them because when I got them, I was also like in like a drug fueled stupor where I was like, I don't care. I want the Jessica Simpson horse teeth, blindingly white movie star teeth. And they were like, it's gonna look crazy. So I want them to look a little bit more natural. So we're gonna go down a shade. Uh,
Laverne Cox salmon.
Laverne, Laverne Cox salmon. I was chewing the salmon, which is soft, but I felt a crunch, and this veneer popped right off. Maybe I should send you a picture of it. You can post it when you post this because and I'm petrified because it looks so
Your
crazy when
front
you have
tooth.
yeah, like it's the second one from the front, just like a big old black hole. And I was really embarrassed. And in the show, I say I swallowed it, I panicked, and then I say they locked me in the bathroom until I shit it out because transgender girls, they know about a veneer. They know like you can't lose that, or that's 5K. So I was like, they locked me in the room, made me shit it out. I did just go home, and I think I kept it in my pocket. And then I flew back home to LA with it, and like had to have it glued back on. I just didn't open my mouth for a couple of days. It was so chaotic.
Thank you for that.
You can please delete all of that.
No, 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 no. Every word is staying in. Not editing a word.
Can't imagine who found that fascinating, but you're
No,
welcome.
lots of people. We want to
Okay.
know.
Look, teeth are something. If it's not an issue you deal with, you don't really get it, and it sounds shocking. Like, how could you possibly be going through all this? But for people who have
Yeah.
shitty teeth, it is like a lifelong. Also, I don't have dental insurance.
You and I, coincidentally, we have randomly wound up at the same Barry's Bootcamp class.
I know.
And sometimes working out side by side. We
I
both
know. Thank God.
sometimes do you always do double floor?
Yes, I had knee surgery. I had a meniscus surgery. I like this is all my full like HIPAA records, but I had meniscus surgery, so I'm not the best runner. I mean, I can't go like crazy fast, and I don't want to at this age. I just don't want to. At Barry's, they make you go 15 incline on like a 21 speed. Like, I'm not doing that. It is not a race. I have paid for this
That's
class.
a bit of an
I want to stay in shape.
exaggeration, but
It's but like, do you do? It's crazy. Not
no,
21
they have never
speed.
said to do the numbers that you just said. But I mean, if you're sprinting, they want you to sprint at say a 10 or above.
Right. That's so fast.
But it's also like a choose your own adventure. Nobody's sitting there with like a ruler. Like,
Totally. And
yeah.
that's what I do love about Barry's. When I first started going to Barry's, it was very much like you were bullied. But then they got hip to, they're like, whatever you want to do, you do that.
I know that you used to do SoulCycle, and I was deep in the cult of SoulCycle. So
I really was.
how did you move? Well, I guess like what were you like as a SoulCycle rider? Like, were you dedicated to like specific instructors?
A little bit. Okay, so here's what happened with SoulCycle. When I first tried to get sober, I went to rehab, and in the rehab, they were like, and one of the perks is that you can have unlimited SoulCycle in Williamsburg because it was in Williamsburg. And I was like, well, great, I'll just get in shape. But so I would go twice a day at like 6 a.m. and then like get bored at 6 p.m. and go back. But at that point, I was like smoking cigarettes, walking to SoulCycle. I would like put it out and then come right back out, light it back up, go back. I was like unhealthy, crazy. I liked the music. I liked the darkness. I liked going really fast. Like
What
the
era
endorphins.
was like? What time period we talking?
2014, 15,
Okay.
2014, 15, 16. I was really addicted to it. I absolutely loved it. It did kind of kickstart my fitness journey, I guess. I did like some specific instructors. Well, I wasn't crazy loyal, like, oh my God, I have to do this or have to go to that. But I definitely didn't like certain ones. I was diehard every day, if not twice a day, every single day.
And then how did you evolve out of it?
I moved to LA and then I kind of like got out of shape again. And then when my dad's health failed, I realized like, are you just going to be unhealthy for the rest of your life? I made a big commitment to like change my lifestyle. And that's when I started going to Barry's. And that's when I started lifting, because I was just doing all this cardio and my body wasn't changing. I wasn't building any muscle. So Barry's kind of helped me go back to lifting weights, which I hadn't done since like college or Broadway days. And then after like 6 months of Barry's, which did like changed me, it changed my body, I think. Then I started going to the gym I'm at now that I'll never leave that I love, called Pharaoh's, which is a very like lesbian heavy gym in Echo Park. And it's like a CrossFit gym, but not actual CrossFit. They just take the best the best of CrossFit. They don't make you do like 1,000 pull-ups every single day. It's progressive overload and it's Olympic weightlifting, and I love it.
And do you do any cardio? Like, do you do any like walking? Or I know you don't run anymore, but like, what is your cardio?
I walk 4 miles a day.
You're hitting your 10,000 steps.
Yeah. Nothing is better for your health than walking, maybe more than that, but like 4 miles is my sweet spot. And I have to do it every day.
Specifically, nothing is better than walking on an incline. Like if for anybody listening, if you're at a gym, it is better for you to walk on a very high incline at a low speed, say at like a 3 or a 3.2, whatever, at a very high, like slowly progressing the incline up. You will burn more calories than if you sprint on and off for, say, a half hour. And it also doesn't spike your hunger, unlike running.
Right. Well, running is fun. I remember loving it because I would listen to music and stuff and just feel kind of, crazy. But I like so when I'm in New York, I do Barry's to kind of keep it up. But out here, it's all about my gym that I love.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I thought you looked so cute. Like before you got into like super ripped shape, which, is now getting you banned on Instagram. And like, I know that it's very much your brand is like, you say it's like selling you tickets, just anytime you're posting shirtless pics. I was a fan of the way you looked before. Like I always used to think you were so cute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, when we first met, I was definitely like, that was like peak bloated, addicted to tranquilizers, like bloated 35 extra pounds in the face alone. And I never set out to like lose weight. I just kind of, once I started lifting weights and building muscle, everything kind of restructured. I didn't really set out to like get a snatched body or anything.
I think it's so funny how in Wellness Check, you talk about how during the pandemic, you basically you kind of confess your whole downward spiral that eventually, and how you eventually hit bottom. And it's very honest and it's very entertaining and also I'm sure harrowing for you to relive. But you talk about how you took up smoking in the pandemic as part of your spiral.
Yeah. It was just super unhealthy. I don't know what that, we were in a global lung pandemic that was very contagious when I took up smoking. I think I just was looking at anything that was extreme and chaotic. And I had smoked on and off before. I never was a huge smoker. Like I mentioned, going to SoulCycle and smoking, but that was just like a rehab thing. I have gone in and out of smoking. It's never been my number one thing. I've never been so obsessed with it. And also because I'm a singer and I don't want to ruin my voice. But there have been phases in my life where I just like can't stop. And it's usually when I'm like fucked up.
One of my favorite things, it's not a trope on Bravo, but one of my favorite things to observe on Bravo are the secret smokers. Which, like people like Dorinda, Luann, Tom Sandoval's not a secret smoker, but people don't know Ariana is a smoker. Like there are little, like Ariana Maddox, like there are little things, but famously Dorinda, Luann, like you will see them. And I don't know if like it's an unspoken rule across reality television, period, or if it was a Bravo thing that they're like, we're not going to show them smoking. It's often times where you're kind of seeing some B-roll or it's like a fourth wall break.
Right.
And I love, LVP, Lisa Vanderpump. There was a funny bit where Erica Jane said her breath smells like cigarettes and something else. And and I love, I'm somebody who loves smoking in movies. Like I think it's
Me too. It looks great. I want to do it. When I see Sex in the City, I'm like, get me a cigarette.
Carrie Bradshaw is our most iconic smoker, don't you think?
I literally bought a pack not too long ago because I was watching it on the plane, and I was like, God, I need a cigarette. But I think in terms of the Bravo of it all and secret smoking, when I was a producer, I don't think we had those discussions like we can't show anyone smoking. They do edit it out because I think it's just a general like in the interest of well-being of your audience, you think of what you're promoting. And it's not like we can't show the real truth that they're smoking. It's more just like, is there a shot where they're not? Because it really is like a heinous habit. And no one's trying to like pretend that it doesn't happen. But like but even in real life, when I see somebody smoking, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's so dumb. But then I posted a picture with a cigarette not too long ago at the Eagle, like for a prop, like just a photo op at the Eagle. And the amount with which people reached out to me and they were so angry. And I was like, listen, I had an uncle who died from lung cancer, grandfather who died of heart disease. Like I am well aware that this is bad. And I'm also not quite I'm pretty sure that not a lot of like 16-year-old kids are watching me for role model advice. And it was just once, but really people are passionate. So I wonder if the Arianas and the whoever's, they just don't want that coming at them because it's bad.
I think there are more secret smokers in LA than in New York.
Right, because LA is so healthy. Why would you don't want anyone to know?
But there's always the wellness leaning individual, and bam, they're a smoker. It turns out they're a smoker.
I know. That's very LA. It's just like the scam wellness culture out here. Yeah.
So, what was your first bottom? Like, how did you wind up in rehab, like the SoulCycle rehab that time period?
Right. Well, it had been a long time coming, and at that point, it was all opiates, and I was just a pill addict. I knew I needed help, but I didn't know how to ask for it, and everyone around me knew that I needed help, but like they were just like, God, what is going to happen to you? I'm sure I was close to death many times, and then the worst was I ended up like the drug dealer ran out of Percocets, and he was like, well, we have fentanyl patches, so do you want these? And I was like, I don't care at this point. So I did like 4 months of that, which was so insane. Like you put one on and then, which by the way, there's a new movie, A Quiet Place,
yes.
Day One, which I just saw, and she wears a fentanyl patch the whole movie long. But it's meant for people who are in palliative cancer care. I mean, that is who it's for. It's not for people like me who you put it on and it lasts for 72 hours. So I would put one on like Thursday and I would just roam around Manhattan like a zombie. And then Monday would happen and I'd be like, it was bad. I don't know, like just so much time zapped from my brain. And then my friends and family did intervene and they were like, we got to get you together. And I was so happy because I was never going to be the one to say, it's hard to say that kind of, it's hard to ask for help. So I'm really grateful they intervened. And then like, it's not so much that I got sober then failed or relapsed. It's just that I never, even though I went to treatment, I tried really hard to be sober. It never really stuck because I was so heavily medicated, even at rehab.
Medicated with what?
Medicated with like if you come into a treatment center and you're on that many opiates, the odds of you being sober are really small. Like it's a hard thing to kick. I desperately wanted to quit. It's just that when you're physically dependent, blah, blah, blah. And so they medicated me. I think I was on Suboxone, just kind of like opiate management. Like, how do I describe it? Do you know what that is?
Is that what Artie Lang was on when he was trying to kick heroin?
Probably. Yes. It's like,
it's giving you a small hit of the drug.
Yeah. The Suboxone doesn't give you that, but it like just manages. It helps the point of heavy addiction to being clean. So like that when it gives you a little bit of a grace period, it does save lives, I think, but it is controversial because it's like, are you still kind of sort of getting high? And I remember my sister at the time was like, don't let them put you on that. And I was like, I'm doing whatever any doctor tells me to do at this point. I'm not in control. I obviously cannot manage my own medication. It did probably save my life, but it didn't allow me to have I wasn't very present, I was still upset. I was still really embarrassed. I still really hated my life. I was like, I'm a failure. This is so terrible. But until you get rid of really every chemical and can kind of see with clear eyes, you can't, or at least for me, I wasn't able to really, really make any progress with my brain. I think I was just always kind of cloudy back then.
Was drinking a problem, or is it mostly drugs?
No, I wasn't a huge drinker. We grew up without alcohol in the house. It's not my knee jerk to like, I did drink and I would drink if I could. I was a big stoner. So I was like
Mm-hmm.
weed. And then that progressed to just like downers, just like pills. But I was a big stoner for a while, but I was never the biggest drinker. I could take or leave alcohol. I would drink sometimes just to fit in or to get messed up if I was bored. But it's not like, I don't have the taste for booze. I hate it.
So what happened? So like, what was the trajectory to getting clean again? I get, it sounds like the pandemic
Yeah.
was bad. Like it ramped up again.
It did ramp up again because the whole time, I mean, listen, there's this old Stevie Nicks clip where she talks about she got sober and then she was on Ativan for 6 years. And she was like, those 6 years are where I could have had a child, I could have gotten married. And they are just, it's like someone went in and removed those years. That's what happened to me because I was also on Xanax and I was on these tranquilizers and I was on antidepressants and things. And I just was very medicated. Even when I was off Suboxone, I was still just like medicated. And then I would take a little too much Xanax. And then it was like, but it's prescribed. So that kind of bullshit. But I had the same thing. It was literally, I think 6 years also, 2014 to 2021. How many years is that? 7? But that's what happened to me. It was just a cloudy, like 6 or 7 years where I was identifying as like a sober person, but it was murky and I was still medicated. Not necessarily lying. I mean, I guess it was kind of lying, but in my mind I was because I was trying and I knew I needed to be sober. I knew I could not like it wasn't safe for me to do drugs. And I wasn't drinking and I wasn't smoking pot. So it was like those 6 years were like honestly horrible because they were murky and cloudy. And I was so unhappy. I had nothing. I was not proud of myself. I just hated it. So then in the pandemic, it was bad because I was isolated. That's the other thing. You get stuck
Yeah.
in your head, and you start to convince yourself of all these crazy things. You know, everyone hates me. The world, I suck. I'm a piece of shit. I've accomplished nothing. I'm a failure. And then you believe it because there's no one else around you. So I was just isolating at home alone. I called the fire department because I was lonely one night. I took myself to the emergency room. Like I went
Called the
crazy.
fire department because you were lonely.
Yeah, and I was like, you have to put me on an ambulance. And they were like, we're not putting you on an ambulance. And I was like, you have to take me to the emergency room right now. And I don't know really what I was trying for, but I wanted like a nurse because I wanted a nurse or someone to like just check me out. I don't know.
Yeah. Now,
But then there was a moment like I was like, okay, your friends have already intervened. You've already been to rehab. Like, when are you going to take control of what you want for your life? And that it was just a small little conversation I had with myself. I called a friend and I was like, I'm going to go get help. And I didn't need like rehab in terms of like to learn how to be sober. I knew how I had good amounts of sober friends. I needed detox because I was on still all these like weird meds from doctors. So I was like, I want to go to a place that just detoxes me safely and then off to the races. It was great.
now, how you close Wellness Check is from this. It's live on Andy Cohen Live. Jerry Seinfeld is
Yeah.
the guest. Do you want to kind of like, or do you want me to kind of summarize it? Because I want to like pick it apart a little bit, just get a little bit more clarity. Like, do you want to?
I'm not going to say what I said, but I'll tell you what happened.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So he came on. It was like early in the pandemic, 2020. Like when we worked at Sirius, so it was the perfect job to have if the world goes to shit because they just shipped out these kits. They were like, you just plug it in and you upload direct, and you're live on the air. And there was a phase where I was like putting Xanax up my butt and just chaotic, beyond unhinged. And Jerry came on and we're live on the air, but he wasn't there yet. But we were live on the air. He was coming up. We were on a commercial break and Andy was like, do you have anything for Jerry? And I'm like, again, Xanax up the ass. It's 7 a.m. I am hating life. And I make a joke about him and he overheard because he was quote unquote in the waiting room, the Zoom waiting room. My producer texts me and is like, I think it was like worst case scenario, like just drugs made me an asshole, like a very mean bitch, a catty, negative, rude. Like I thought I was being funny, but it was actually just mean. And so but I also didn't know anything. I didn't mean anything. I was just a piece of shit. Like I was acting like a piece of shit, but like said something really horrible. What I thought was a joke, but was just really like rude and off. And then she's like, I think Jerry heard that. We didn't know if he had heard it or not. And then at the end of the interview, he looks in the camera and he's like, he leaves us with like one parting message. I didn't say anything the entire interview. I was petrified. And he was like, yeah, careful with the mics on your show. You never know who's listening. People might be listening and you don't know it. And like really drove the point home. Like, so it was horrible. And I didn't listen to the audio of that for 3 years. And then when I started doing this show, I was like, why don't I just challenge myself to listen to it? When I listened to it, I thought, well, I'm also trying to write music. So why don't I just take this and make it the lyrics of this song? And I put it to music.
You turned it into music.
Lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happened.
Okay.
And then
yeah.
How does Sirius react? And how did Andy react?
I think Andy handled it. Well, I said to Andy, like, I deserve to be fired. That's like, I get it. Like, I deserve that. And we didn't talk a whole lot, and I don't actually know, but I think it wasn't like a big like dumpster fire. It wasn't like, oh my God, this thing. And also because no one heard except for myself, Jerry, Andy, and our producer. So I think Andy's thing was just kind of like, let's try to keep it as small as possible. Let's see what we can do. He definitely, I think, told Jerry something like, my co-host is not well, like something along those lines, I'm sure. And I don't know what Jerry said back, but I think it was kind of like, by the grace of God, for some reason, it was like, okay, you're allowed to remain. But we didn't have a big talk like that, like on, you will be allowed to say. It was just kind of like understood that I understood how horrible it was.
And did you go on like a medical leave after that? Because there was, I remember this time. And it was kind of like you were gone for like a month or so.
I was gone for a month and a half, a little bit longer, but it was a couple months later. There was a little bit of a time period of like murky quietness, but then I left, and that's when I went to detox.
Wow.
I know.
And then my final question, and then I want to pivot to some other stuff. I mean, ever since then, you've mounted this tour. Like, you started at the Green Room 42 here in New York. Our mutual friend, Ben Rimmelauer, he recommended that you use the Green Room as kind of your home base to keep honing the material and keep workshopping it. And then over the past year, I mean, you've played London and every major city.
Not London yet, but I would like to play London. I went to London, but I didn't perform the show there.
Oh.
I just went for a vacation. But let's see, DC, New Orleans, Vegas, Chicago, Seattle.
So here's what I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do all your booking yourself? Like, who is and it's like, not only is it booking, it's also like routing the tour. Are you doing all of that back end work? And also, do you make money? Because it costs a lot of money to fly and then put yourself up. I know that places don't put you up. Not you. I mean, unless you're Lady Gaga or a huge act, they're not putting talent up.
No, they're not. No, it's just me. I mean, I go onto Canva. I make all my own flyers. I've been cold calling venues and being like, hey, I have a show. I have this many listeners on Sirius. This is how many people can probably come to the show. I book size appropriate rooms. And then I see what I can do. And like, I do it as cheaply as I can. Like in New Orleans, I stayed at a friend's house. Mm-hmm. Because when I first started, I just thought, okay, it was really because I was being very like jealous of other comedians who I saw getting like deals to just go sit in this writer's room and then buy 2 houses just because we saw you on stage and we think you're funny. It was happening far too often. And I was like, well, what about me? And then I realized I'm not getting up and doing anything. I'm saying my stuff on the radio, but like no one's being like, let's make it rain for this guy who's saying one liner every 3 days. So I was like, you're going to get up once a month for a year, and at the end of that 12 months, if nothing has happened for you in your career and no one has called you, then you can complain all you want. This is the conversation I have with myself. So I got up, I did one show, went great, no music, just did stand up. And then the next month I did it again. The next month I did it at Green Room. Ben said, do it every single month here. And then I did it in New York every single month for a year after that. And in LA pretty much every single month, and another city. So then I started doing it 3 or 4 times a month So it just kind of snowballed. Meanwhile, not really sure what I was even doing, just kind of trying some shows were really bad and not funny. Some were kind of amusing. And I had never played piano and sang in front of people before in my life before this show. So it was a lot of learning as I did it, which I liked. And then, oh, this is fun. A year to, so April 7th, I think was my first show in LA. On like April 5th of the next year, of this past year, like 2 days before the exact 12 months of when I said that to myself, I got a call to go be in a writer's room at a new HBO show. It was just for 2 weeks, but it was like still the call. I didn't even realize that. I was like, oh, that's great. Okay,
Wow.
cool. They were like, just come in. We want your stories. Just make us laugh in the room. You'll get paid to just sit here. I was like, thank you. That shit never happens to me. But it was a year to the day almost.
A sign that you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and like that is what I want. I am best on stage saying dumb shit. When I got honest about my life, like I wasn't happy producing reality TV. It was really frustrating for me. I was in the wrong profession. Like my skill set doesn't lend it. I was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
What was the most frustrating thing about, because like I said up top, you produced like Tori and Dean in Love, Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List. You're a producer at Watch What Happens Live for years. What was the most frustrating thing about producing reality TV for you?
It's cliche, but it's because I wanted to be the performer and I wasn't honest about that. I would blame something else. Like I'm frustrated because I hate this, or I'm frustrated because I hate that other producer, or I hate this, and I hate the way I'm not credited, or I'm not paid enough. It was because I should be performing. Like that was really what it was. I was frustrated. I had come from Broadway where I was like booking. And then like all of a sudden I'm behind the camera thinking of call times for someone, and then thinking of like funny, cute ideas for somebody to do in their interview it was not right. And I was scared of like being honest with myself about what I truly wanted to do. And I was scared of being like a 60-year-old out of work. I saw these guys one time at the bank in New York when I was on Broadway, and they were like older and they were cashing in their unemployment checks. And one of them was talking about going to Wichita to get insurance weeks. And I was like, no, actually, no, that cannot be me. I will not be. But by the way, at this point, that's a very honorable life. You're doing what you want to do. But back then I was scared of it. I was really scared of that. And I was like, you're going to get a real job. You're going to be a TV producer. That's just what you're going to do because you need to make money. But I was really unhappy.
You're going to be doing 2 gigs in Provincetown coming up. You're doing Carnival Week and you're doing Spooky Bear. Can I tell you, I love Halloween. I've done Halloween in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Actually, where you performed in New Orleans, the Always Cabaret, that is my favorite. I lived in New Orleans for a little bit, and that is my favorite venue. And
really?
I threw a Halloween party there a few years ago at that venue. And then this past year, I did Spooky Bear in PTown, which may have been like the highlight of my year. Like it's just this magical time because it's all gay. There's no families, no tourists. It's just the people who you want to be there.
I'm excited. They say it's a dead zone for performing, but I don't care. I wanted to go.
I saw Bianca Del Rio. Spooky Bear.
Right. That's why no one's going to come to my show because they're all at Bianca's show. But it's fine. I love where I perform. I love the Post Office Cabaret. They're so good to me. And also, back to your question about making money. I book everything myself. I take myself every place. One other just side note about Sirius was that Andy and I signed a new deal, and I got like Sirius pays barely any money, but I got a smidge more money, where at least it was like a living wage. Before I was literally like, y'all, I'm concerned. I have to get a part-time job at Target. So I got a little bit more. And with that, I was like, what can I want to optimize what I have. My attitude was really bad before when I was like kind of negative and not sober. I was always like, I don't have enough. I'm only on once a week and like complaining. And then when I realized a lot of performers they would die to have one show a week on Sirius, like every Tuesday live on the air. Like that's a great thing to have. And I thought, I'm going to do the most with that and be grateful for that and optimize that. And that's what the past year has been. So it's been about building an audience because people, even though our subscribers at Sirius are wonderful and very loyal, and I would be dead without them, I'm not in the mix of like going to any city and being like, oh, we know that guy. Let's go see his stand up. They're like, who is this queen? So I'm in the building the audience phase. So I thought it's okay if it costs me some money. If I break even fine. I don't lose money, but I break. There have been sometimes where I've broken even, but it's been worth it to me for the investment of next year when I go back to those cities, the 50 people who loved it will bring a friend and it will double in size. So it's a long-term goal. Like I want to be old and performing.
I love that. You're investing in yourself.
Yeah.
So I want to know, did you first start going to PTown and Fire Island when you were living in New York? Like, tell me your PTown and Fire Island origin stories.
PTown was first. I think I went to Fire Island a couple of times and I didn't connect with it. It took me a while to connect to it. It's last summer when we first saw each other there when I was in Ben's house. That was the first time I'd ever done an actual share. Times before I had gone for like one day at a time. But PTown was first. I went there and I fell in love with it immediately. I would go with Danny Visconti from Watch What Happens Live. We would go with our friends. I love a seaside town. I like a cooler climate. I love an East Coast witchy vibe. Mm-hmm. And I just really, really took to it. And it reminded me of Edinburgh. Like there's a show in every little crevice. There's a drag queen on every corner. It's a festival vibe at all times. And then go get some fudge. I loved it. And and then I guess like when I worked at Watch What Happens Live, I did get my own, I was like, I'm an adult. I'm going to get my own week share of like a little house by myself. I had a boyfriend at the time. We went, it was great. But it wasn't until I actually started, when I got sober and started performing there, that I really felt like I exhaled and like really felt my own kind of identity there.
And so what do you like to do? Like, what are your favorite restaurants? Like, what are some of the best shows you've seen there?
You know, I've never been to Sal's.
Really?
Never. Sorry, backing up to PTown a little bit. My long-term ex-boyfriend, who we were together for 5 years, we're still very close. We're like family. His family is from Truro. So every year, I've gone every year and like seeing it from that perspective of like, it's our hometown. It just made me fall in love with it even more. So I didn't feel like a tourist. I felt like extended family. Best shows I've seen, obviously, Dina Martina. I saw Tammy Brown's show, which I really liked.
I've seen Tammy a few times in PTown.
I love her. I went to Purgatory for the first time. I had never been to Purgatory, the basement underwear party. That was fun.
Like, do you go to what is that bar? It's actually like the oldest gay bar possibly in the country. The one that's
Dick Dog?
No, not the TikTok. No, the one, I can't believe it's slipping my mind.
I've never been to the Dick Dog.
A House.
Of course, A House. Oh my God, that's so funny. It makes me think of this time I was at the A House with Danny. And this is during that phase when I was wearing the fentanyl patches. And I had one on. And because I was so out of it, I was like, no one will know. And I remember I was like in underwear in the A House. And this guy came up and he was like chatting me up. And he was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's Salon Pass. It's like an icy hot patch. And he was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm a doctor. Like he knew exactly what. He was like, good luck. Like, good luck to this queen who's wearing a palliative, like, death's door cancer treatment at A House.
Speaking of the Dick Doc.
Terrible.
So you know how they just put all the Tabitha Takes Overs back on Peacock?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's an episode where she takes over a salon
I've seen it.
in PTown where they get, you know how like the owner like gets married randomly at the I texted my friend, I'm like, the wedding is at the Dick Doc. Like they're getting married at the Dick Doc.
Well, at the boat slip, isn't that where the Dick Doc is?
Yeah,
it's at T. It's underneath T.
But that's where that's where the wedding was.
You know what? Good.
Yeah,
that's where you should be. I never had even gone to T before last year. I just never went to. No, I just never went to T because I don't know what I was doing. I wasn't social and I was scared of people because I get scared of crowds and stuff. But last year I was like, fuck it, we're going to T. And it became, once I had the mindset of like, maybe you'll meet a friend. But I used to go into social situations like everyone here is crazy and someone's going to annoy you. And then someone always would. But now it's like, if someone's annoying, that's on them. And and I've made friends at T. I sell my shows at T. Like I'll take a sticker and promote my show because you got to hustle there.
You have to flyer and do all of that.
I don't.
Bark, yes.
It's not in my personality. I'm not above it. I just am not allowed.
I think T at PTown is a lot more fun than T in the Pines.
Okay, the
Pines.
Pines.
Yeah, please go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it just took me a long time to connect to the Pines because it's the opposite of P-Town. They're not really a restaurant, and it's not like Edinburgh. It's hot, it's beachy, it's sexy. You really like do drugs and have sex, or I don't. That's a lot of it. I think it's just like a lot of that, and I was scared of that. I was intimidated by that. I think I was really, if you're not someone who's secure with yourself or feeling confident in your own skin, it's intimidating to go to Fire Island. It is so extreme. It's like, it's intense. The Pines is intense. I love it now, but it took me years to say, oh, I'm just going to focus on myself. I'm not going to worry about what everyone else is doing. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to relax by the pool. I'm going to chat with my friends. But if you're someone who's up in their head and you're freaked out by things, it can be really intimidating. But now I love it.
All the entertainment is in Cherry Grove.
Yeah.
It is.
Which I love Cherry Grove.
Oh, Cherry Grove is the best.
Yeah.
It's great. Like all the hip stuff is in Cherry Grove. It just needs to be totally renovated. Like
The Ice Palace needs help.
Well, it just got help. If you think it needs help now, then there's no. I mean, Dan and Arnicio just redid the entire thing.
I know. I love Danny, but when I did see Dina there, she was just ragging on the Ice Palace. The fact that they call it a palace is so funny. We couldn't see. Like the seating was messed up. We couldn't really even see. It was beyond obstructed. But I went to the underwear party for the first time.
How was that?
Again, like I'm becoming an old man, and like the things that really bother me in life are like traffic patterns. If people aren't moving in an efficient way, I want to just go home. If people are like, if you're in line and you can't properly stand in line, anyway, I got cut in line so many times. Just you're standing there naked. You're trying to check your clothes. Okay, there's a 30-minute wait of that line before the wait to get in. Mm-hmm. So we're standing there and I'm like, I could be in a hot tub with my dog nearby and then watching a movie and then eating a snack and then going to bed. But instead, I'm waiting behind these drunk people in a blackout, naked, holding my clothes, asking this person to go take my belongings somewhere, including my phone, to God knows where, and then go stand around and watch a bunch of people on G dry fuck. And by the way, I stuck with it. I hung in there. And by the time I got inside, I got my life. I felt really great. Somebody did take a dump and they had to turn all the lights on immediately. And when they turn the lights on, when everyone's in their zone, all the lights. It was, I've never seen more.
Somebody did that like on the dance floor?
No, they did it in the back room. There's like a curtained off section.
Oh, I know. Want to ask you, what do you make of Countess Luann's Renaissance?
This is funny. You'll appreciate this. You asked me a question about who books my tour and who does my stuff. I did sign, just like this is fresh news, with a really amazing touring agent who I'm still basically doing it all myself, but they're kind of assisting in that. There's someone else to kind of help. And they hooked me up at all these great city wineries, which is like so good. I'm so excited. But they were like, oh, and they need a writer. They need a tour writer. And I was like, my writer is Red Bull and maybe some Swedish fish and water and a bathroom to use. And that probably won't change. That's literally all I want. And they were like, well, they need one. Just make one up. And I go, okay. And then I wrote back and I was like, can you send me a template, or can you send me what another writer looks like? The only one I've ever seen is when we like make fun of Lady Gaga's writer on Watch What Happens Live. Like, I don't know what a writer looks like. And so he doesn't know me from Adam. Like, we had just met, me and this agent. He's like, okay, here's one. Look at this. And look, and it was Countess Luann. And
what were some of the more memorable items?
Well, it was what I appreciated it was very thorough in terms of, because what I'm looking for, once I started looking at hers, I was like, oh God, I'm so glad I'm looking at this, because when I need vocal monitors, which a lot of these venues don't have, if they're a comedy club, they're not thinking, oh, this person's going to sing and play piano. They don't need to hear their voice. And I was like, fuck, thank you. Okay. She has her stage mapped out. She sends like a stage plot, like exactly what she needs for her stage and her band and her people. And then I was like, oh, right, I guess I do need, like, I prefer the stool on the left-hand side. I prefer the keyboard on the right. Like, and in my mind, it's like, oh, I don't care, put it wherever. But if they're asking, there it is. I think there was like a rose, a floral request, a certain type of flower, a certain type of color rose. And I might be making this up. I have to look back, but I'm pretty sure there was a temperature requirement for the dressing room, which, by the way, that's not crazy. I just wouldn't think of it.
Patti LuPone needed the Ice Palace at 68 degrees. They had to put in air conditioning specifically for her. And thank God, because that place is hot as hell in the summer.
Exactly. So I've been looking at it. Yeah, it was very cool to see. And then, like you were saying about people not putting people up, I noticed that there was a clause in there or something about being put up. And then I said, like, does she get put up everywhere? And he was like, no. So it really is across the board. Like sometimes sometimes they'll give a little stipend for booking, but no, these places really are not. What I found with these venues is that if you ask, sometimes they go, oh yeah, we have a deal with the Hampton Inn. So like tell them you're performing, you get 15% off or something like that. But no, you're really putting yourself up. But that's how I got all this travel is how I've become platinum on Delta.
Amazing.
And I'm going to make diamond. I'm going to make diamond by November.
But can we talk about, can you believe the fact that she was playing Mighty Hoopla and now Ladyland, and she's going to be headlining this other venue in Times Square, like an actual like big venue.
Yes.
I guess I'm trying to understand like what happened in these years post Roni that it exploded even bigger than it had been even when Roni was on the air.
It's simple. She stayed the course. She was true to herself. She never gave up, and the internet helped. And all these queens passing around the memes.
T-Kyle.
Exactly. She has what all these other artists she has what J-Lo wishes she had, which is a rabid, young, concert-going, ticket-buying fan base. Mm-hmm. Like, that's where, who cares who's listening? You want people who are going to, you want who's going to go to a festival and see you. Like, my lovely subscribers sometimes they'll come to a show, but like, I don't have throngs of 27-year-olds like throwing their panties at me. But that is what she has, because I credit the internet with a lot of it. The meme, keep on serving cunt. And like, her songs are campy and they're just in the right way, but she's so earnest, but the songs are campy. It's like a perfect mix. I'm inspired by her.
Final thing I want to talk to you about. Now you talk about something that I love about you. And the last episode of this show, I reviewed a bunch of new music documentaries that I saw at Tribeca. And the documentaries there was one on Ani DeFranco, Linda Perry, the Indigo Girls, and Liza. And so we reviewed all these documentaries, and something that you've always been very vocal about is your love of lesbian music. Mm-hmm. And you did I think like your Six Flags audition song was to like a Melissa Etheridge song.
Come to my window.
So I want to know, what is your root here?
With the Indigo Girls specifically, the way in was actually like the sound and the storytelling, and it was country music in a way, or adjacent, and it was honest storytelling from a point of view, and it wasn't necessarily about like falling in love, but it was just a perspective, an honest perspective, and I think the honesty is what hooked me. And I prefer a female singer normally. I just prefer it. It's just where I've always been drawn to. And a lot of the musicians, I mean, Tori is really the biggest one for me. Yeah. But I think there's something about playing an instrument and singing an honest song that I relate to. I've never been a big pop girly. I appreciate it. I can really get into it. But even like the electronic music that I like is rooted, like if you stripped it all out, it would be a folk song, or it would be, like even Churches or Robin. Like if you really stripped it down, it's piano and vocal and an honest melody and honest POV about something, like Dancing on My Own. Like, these like bigger pop songs, I'm never really into like just like a groove or a jam. Like I could give a fuck about
Did you go to Lilith Fair when that was?
I didn't go to Lilith Fair, but you know what I did do? I went to Hollywood Bowl to see Sarah McLachlan 3 weeks ago.
I saw her at Radio City. Okay, give me, let's trade reviews.
I have notes.
Oh, I want to hear them.
Getting more beautiful by the day. She looks unbelievable. She is the nicest, most pleasant. She's so unique because you can only love her. My note was about the music because
Oh,
her voice is in tip top shape. She sounds amazing. It's like these songs were so epic from Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, which she was doing, and they're so epic, and she was singing the shit out of them. But the mix or the arrangements weren't it for me. They I couldn't hear her a lot of times, and a lot of people. This might have been specific just to the Hollywood Bowl because I know a lot of people had this issue. Her vocal got lost. It was we would hear like
wait, is the Hollywood Bowl outside?
yes.
Oh, that's
But
the problem.
it's a state of the art, the like sound design within an inch of its life venue. Like Hollywood Bowl is the shit. But maybe it was that. Maybe they didn't sound design it quite right or something. But also her backing track malfunctioned at one point,
Oh
like Ashley
shit.
Simpson SNL style, which is not like she was lip syncing. It was just a backing track, but the rhythm was off, and you don't even have to be a musician. Everyone like it was like fork on a plate, nails on chalkboard. Like it was really hard. It was bad. And in that moment, I wish she would have been like, y'all, everyone stop. Everyone
Yeah.
stop. Because for 80% of the show, she sits and plays piano and sings, and it's heaven. And I wish she would have just been like, cut the shit. But since she didn't, we were all kind of like, well, I don't know. I had some sonic issues with that
Wow.
show.
Okay. My review, I have notes too, but my notes are totally different. So
Okay.
I thought the sound was unbelievable. At
Uh-huh.
Radio City, when I talked to
It was probably better for that. Yeah.
I was like, the sound is incredible. Her voice is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, she's an extremely boring performer.
I also thought that, but I came at the end of it, I was like, there's something to be said for someone who is lovely. She's very lovely, but she's not even like, she's not dynamic,
No.
you
And
know?
I wanted to hear the backstories of these songs. The only song where I wanted storytellers. The
You got
only
Adia.
Adia was the only song, and she even that I mean, Adia ultimately is about the fact that she married. It was her drummer at the time. She married the ex of a friend of hers. It's not even like it was a cheating story. It was like
Yeah.
that was the juice.
Mm-hmm. You probably thought the same, but I was like, if I could direct her, I could give her a Stevie Nicks second act. Like we could take this and make her a fucking rock star with these songs. But it was more like we're just gonna get up and have a fun time. And I was like, no, the audience was ready to go there with her, but she was like, but not bad. Like I don't think she's a bad performer, but it's not even. I wouldn't even say boring. I hear what you're saying, but I think it's just more that she's just lovely, and that's it.
She's a
But
boring mom sitting in Canada.
I know.
Like,
Because I had never really felt like I really knew her personality, maybe because she doesn't have one, but I didn't ever connect with like the lore of her. But she is
yeah, same.
the best songwriter,
This was the
the
first
best
time.
musician.
This was the first time I had ever seen her live. Actually,
Me too.
I missed the little fair. I was in high school. Whatever. I missed it. Are you an Ani DeFranco person? I know Tori.
Huge.
Like
Huge.
who are the singer songwriters that you? What's the lesbian music that you love?
Ani was the biggest one for me in college. Tori, Tracy Chapman, Dion Ferris. There's this singer called Jonatha Brooke. Do you know her?
That's fucking hilarious that you just
Love her.
she came up in our in our roundup of these
Such a deep
documentaries,
cut.
and my friend was like, remember, and he was like stumbling on the name, and I was like, it's Jonatha Brooke. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
I fucking Wikipedia'd her straight.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I identify, but it was like, semi-queer-ish seeming,
Yes.
like vocal. Sean Colvin, who's also not gay, but like those were just like.
Were you into
and
Tegan, early Tegan and Sarah?
beyond, I did see them live in 2008. Yeah, the best.
The best.
Should be bigger.
I prefer like So Jealous is their best album. I wish they had like stayed in that vein. Like they went all pop. I think they signed with a big, obviously
Yeah.
they want to make money and good for them. But
Yeah, and I think you stretch your muscles if they did so much singer songwriter at the best they could do it. So it's like, of course, like you
Yeah.
probably just want to stretch. Like Liz Phair, she made that pop album, which I think is great.
Liz
And
Phair
but
is
people
amazing.
really they shit on her for it. But she was like, "Do you guys not understand that I was just being like, what if I made a pop album and then did it?" Or she wasn't trying.
So I heard that you're taking a break from performing in New York and you're going to be moving venues.
I think so. I mean, that's the talk now. Ben and I don't have another date on the books. And then City Winery in New York wants to have me, I think, in October. So I think here's the thing about New York is that God bless the people who keep coming out. But like, I found in New York and LA, I need to give 1 month is not enough for like the pool of people to build back up to come see me. So I want to just give a few months so people want to see me again. And because I want to play to some packed houses instead of like 75% full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, thank you so much. This has been so eye-opening.
Thank you. I'm so glad you asked me about my dental journey.
That was the number one thing on my list.
Wow. Please edit that down.
Anything else? Any upcoming dates? Like we talked about Provincetown this summer.
Yes.
Would you ever do the show on Fire Island, or is it?
Well, I did
difficult?
I did a weekly show or a monthly show with Mark McNamara last summer. Every single Thursday. I was there for like 8 Thursdays last summer, but it was his show and I was filling in for him. And I found the audiences there. I would do my show definitely, but I would want it to be at a certain time on a certain night. I think telling people on a Thursday night, like, come to the pavilion at 10, they want to be at Sip and Twirl, or they're going to be like balls deep in someone on the beach. Like, I think we don't have like on the early side, like maybe right after tea or something, and just kind of do it short and sweet.
I saw Sandra Bernhard do like a 6 p.m. I think it was either 6 or 6:30 at the pavilion, and it went over great.
I would do Cherry Grove. I would do the Ice Palace. Scratch what I said about it not being great. I love the Ice Palace. I would love to have a booking there.
Yeah.
But I think it would have to be, I would have to kind of like see who else is out there and make sure there's not some other queen doing a musical comedy show at the same time or something like that.
How are you feeling about Carnival, performing during Carnival in PTown?
Great. There's going to be a ton of people.
Yep.
And I'm already almost half sold.
Amazing.
Which this time last year when I was going, there was none sold. So the fact that there's
great
half the people there, like, because I also performed there on this last fall in September on Rosh Hashanah, 6 p.m. on a Sunday in a rainstorm. Guess how many people came to that fucking show? It was an off week as well. No one was there. So it was just my ex-boyfriend's mom, his sister, and like 4 people. It was a great show. I killed it.
Yeah.
But like, damn. It was hard.
Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah. I didn't even look at the calendar.
Wow.
Anyway, those are the
and
cities.
you're gonna have a blast at Spooky Bear. It's so fun.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jess. I love you.
Everyone, I mean, Andy Cohen Live, The John Hill Show. What a journey from the feels to whatever it was.
The news.
The John, then we finally landed on The John Hill Show. I love the evolution there. This is so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience and their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's LIBSYN, ads.com today.
Hi, I'm Chris Gethard, and I'm very excited to tell you about Beautiful Anonymous, a podcast where I talk to random people on the phone. I tweet out a phone number, thousands of people try to call. Talk to one of them, they stay anonymous, I can't hang up, that's all the rules. I never know what's going to happen. We get serious ones. I've talked with meth dealers on their way to prison. I've talked to people who survived mass shootings. Crazy funny ones. I talked to a guy with a goose laugh, somebody who dresses up as a pirate on the weekends. I never know what's going to happen. It's a great show. Subscribe today, Beautiful Anonymous.